Hello friends, it's Willow Star here out in front of my chicken coop. I have a lot to catch y'all up on. It's been an insanely intense week for me around my birthday. And so first and foremost, thank you so much to everybody for the sweet birthday messages. It's been such a whirlwind. I haven't really got a chance to look through them yet. I will. I felt very overwhelmed by the amount of love and just love and well wishes that were sent my way. And I have not been online as it's been an incredibly intense past few days. Starting on Friday, I'm just going to jump right into it. On Friday, I decided to have a very small, intimate gathering, my first one here at my new house. My birthdays are kind of a loaded day. Generally, there's been a lot of trauma and drama and sadness on my birthdays, so always trying to do it up differently. And so I was like, I'm gonna have a few people over, very intimate. And as I was getting ready, my kid Zaya was here, and we were just talking, and then people were about to arrive in the next hour, and all of a sudden we just hear commotion out the window, and the chickens were going crazy. So they free range most of the day out here on this 5 acres, and they've been doing that forever. And all of a sudden it was just dust and feathers and tons of crowing. We run out and Zaya's screaming there in front of me, and then I see I did not realize, I thought it was a cat. Realized it was a bobcat after. I was like, oh, it was a cat. So it's like, Zaya's like, that's a bobcat. And then, of course, I'm like looking at the size, and bobcat has one of my red chickens in its mouth, and it is running. And my instinct just jumped in, and I just chased this bobcat down the back, down the side of the coop. We get to this kind of clearing, drops the chicken, regroups, grabs it, starts running again. And I don't know what it was, but I just kept chasing, and it finally dropped the chicken. And definitely never encountered a bobcat, never encountered an attack like this in the wild. I'm still processing, still learning these lessons. And yeah, so the chicken gets away, goes, the bobcat leaves, chicken chase her around for about 2 hours. I won't get into the details, but she was very injured on the back of her neck. I could see most of the inside of her neck. And I just didn't know what to do. So we got her into her a coop by herself. You can't keep them together because they will peck each other and eat the injured one, which is not cool. So she was on her own. I don't know what to do. Go on with my, I did the best I could to keep her safe for that night, and had my little get together, which was sweet. And then the next morning, started reaching out to people to get support. Being the weekend, there's no vets around. Somebody says that they'll come and help me Sunday morning and to keep her warm. So I gave her a hot water bottle, which she really seemed to like, Saturday night. And when I woke up on Sunday on my birthday, she had passed. And it was really, really hard to accept that, I didn't have the skills or the tools to help save her. And I was waiting this one more day, and then I figured, if we needed to put her down, that we would. But it's like, this is all new territory for me. I'm just learning, So my son was here, Tristan, and thank God, he was able to, he took her to his friend who has wolf dogs, and was going to share her body with them to nourish them for the winter. And she was not edible for us. We don't know how long she had been passed away overnight and not refrigerated. But yeah, it just so intense. And then in between that, yeah, that'll be another video. Also almost caught my house on fire. Thank God Tristan was here as well. That will be a different video. So then I did this breath work on my birthday on Sunday after her passing. And if you haven't done breath work, I highly recommend it. Really, you can go into an incredibly altered state just from your breath. But so much was coming through about this incident of these chickens and this fierceness I felt in myself. I saw myself as this bobcat, as this primal, like, just like hungry, you know, I'll do anything to eat and feed myself and my family, and nothing is impossible. And, you know, just fierce primal energy. And then on the other side of that, I felt myself as the chicken, and I really felt her releasing the suffering, you know, the fear, all of the things. I felt she was just really sending me a message. I know she was. I felt her energy, and it was very light and happy. And she was just like, yeah, you don't have to suffer, you know, like it was like she knew it was her time, and she passed. I learned that chickens don't show their illnesses to people, and when they're hurt, because it makes them more attractive to prey. So I was really just getting this life cycle of nature that we are not in general, you know, accustomed to seeing these life cycles. And now, you know, I've had the thought, oh, well, I could have let the bobcat take the chicken, and then the bobcat would have been fed, and she wouldn't have suffered that death that way. It would have been a quicker. And, you know, looking back, I didn't know. To be honest, I might do the same thing. I would have to think through that, because I also don't want this bobcat to think this is where he comes to eat. So, yeah, I've been learning about how different animals attack chickens and what the injuries could be. It's just very fascinating when you look at the nature world, and we are so, I know I was so numb and disconnected to what nature actually is about, and we are so death phobic as a culture. And just in my own, you know, mortality every day, I am faced with death with this stage 4 diagnosis, and I have friends in all stages of their diagnosis where you know, I've got people who are just diagnosed with stage 1 cancer. I've got people who are stage 4. I've got people who are getting ready for hospice. And just how our society, you know, we don't like to talk about death. We don't like to look at death. You're certainly not going to see a chicken with its feet and its beaks in a Whole Foods. You're going to see that when you go to other cultures, and you go to, you know, you go to Chinatown, and you see how you see the animals, you know, and they really revere their chickens and roosters. But yeah, it's really helped me. Being in this space is helping me to connect to nature, and to connect to my life through nature. And I feel like this is a big part of what's missing in our society, is that a lot of us are pretty disconnected from the nature kingdom. And the more time I'm spending in nature, I'm learning. After this chicken attack, the hens, they were going nuts. They were in their coop, and they were pecking the shit out of each other. It was so hard to watch. And I had been reading in a book about how when they get stressed, they peck each other. And I couldn't help think of myself as an angry, frustrated, overwhelmed mom, you know, before my diagnosis, and how overwhelmed I was. And I would peck at, you know, my family, how we all would. And if more than one of us was stressed, it was even worse, you know. So there's just a lot for us to learn from the nature kingdom. And then the following day, on Monday, I was out checking on the chickens. I was having a conversation with them, letting them know that, you know, Sweet Red had passed, and I had to keep them in the coop for a few days, you know, to keep them safe from the bobcat. I start walking, and that might sound crazy, but like, you know, you guys, it just makes sense. When you start connecting with nature, it's very different. I start walking down and to the side of their coop, Who do I see? The bobcat. There's a deer there. So there's a deer, me, and then this bobcat. And this deer is like, her ears are forward. She's got one hoof lifted. She's in a, very much an attacking mode. And she's just like, at this bobcat. And then I start chucking rocks at him and screaming at him, and he finally leaves. And I sat there with this mama deer for another 15, 20 minutes. She stood guard. She kept looking at me. She knew I was there. She was not spooked by me. And this is a new deer that I'm not as familiar with, and she's been very skittish. She won't come near me or anything. This one, she's sitting there, and she was just like, yeah, we got this. And she just would look at me, sniff the air, but she would not let go of this focus. Funny thing is, I thought she was protecting the chickens, which I thought was super, super sweet and cute. And I told my sister, and my sister's like, her baby was probably around. And I was like, oh yeah. So, yeah, it was really pretty magical to see just like wildlife in real time. And so now I've kept the chickens in, and I'm finding ways to keep them entertained in their little coop. But yeah, just really processing this feeling of, this fierceness that we all have inside of us. And then this softness and this, wanting to be nurtured, and yet maybe not even asking for it or showing people, protecting ourselves from what? We're not prey. But I see these, cycles. Where are we being mean to each other because we're stressed out? How are we supporting? Cogburn, they were alerting. It was like all the systems go, and the rest of them made it into the coop, because they were supporting each other. They were tuned in. They're paying attention. They're eating, but they're noticing. They're listening. They're watching. They're very tuned in. And when you're an animal of prey, you are paying attention. So I feel like, there's just so much to learn. I just had to share this in a longer video because it's been really intense to process all of this. I'm got so much to share. I'm going to be making more videos about this, and then about the popcorn incident. Stay tuned for the popcorn incident video. But thanks for tuning in, you guys. Thanks for listening. I'd love to hear, what you've taken from nature. What have you learned from the life and death cycle? I've also just been thinking about like how we eat meat. Like I do eat meat when my body calls for it, and when it is ethically raised and sourced naturally. I'm eating the highest quality of meat that I can absolutely get my hands on. And it's just like noticing this chicken and seeing that she was going to be fed to the wolves, and feeling like, oh gosh, my baby. And yet without those feathers, and without her beak, and without her feet, that's what you buy in the store, you guys, So just like, this isn't to say don't eat meat, but it's like to honor and understand where these animals come from and what their livelihood is when you take them into your body. When you're eating a chicken off of a feedlot and they've got 5,000 other chickens in a huge room with them, that is stressful for them. They're pecking each other. They're stressed out. And then we're eating that. That's a whole nother story. But like, it just really showed me, seeing her body, and me wanting to not look, and also me feeling called to like, hey, this is a part of life, and it's important to acknowledge and respect them. So I know this is a long one. Thanks, friends, for listening. I would love to hear any of your wisdom that's come through experiences in the wild, and how you connect with nature and the life and death cycle. Sending you all much love. Signing off here. If you haven't liked, subscribed, or shared this video, please do. It really means a lot to me to get these messages out into the world so we can all learn and grow together. Thanks, fam. Talk to you soon. Namaste.